While in Lu Sheng's dream, he uppercut a massive zombie, and its head flew off. But a rank 4 martial artist zombie caught it and smashed it into pieces. Lu Sheng wanted to know if a rank 1 martial artist like him could defeat a rank 4 zombie. He rushed forward, and the zombie greeted him with a punch. Lu Sheng blocked it, but the force of the attack was twice his strength, causing him pain. The zombie tried to strike again, unleashing a mighty blow. Lu Sheng quickly dodged, moving behind the zombie and kicking it in the head, causing it to fall. He jumped forward and delivered a slashing kick, defeating the zombie and absorbing its ability. Afterward, Lu Sheng learned from its memory that the zombie had died on the front lines while fighting monsters to protect the city. He clarified to himself that he didn't defeat the zombie just to gain experience, but out of respect for the bravery of the person it once was. He also realized that this zombie had been a level 5 martial artist when alive, explaining its powerful punches. Had it not lacked intelligence or lost an arm, defeating it would have been impossible. Almost a week had passed since Lu Sheng mastered the stellar body refining art, the natural breathing technique, and the crystal visualization technique. With the help of muscle and blood strengthening decoctions, his health status had increased significantly. He had fully grasped the zombie's fist techniques by absorbing its memory. Lu Sheng pondered the potential of integrating the secret technique of the stellar body refining art and the natural breathing technique, realizing he could exert power several times, or even hundreds of times more than usual. As more zombies attacked, Lu Sheng gathered energy into his fist and unleashed a powerful strike, which he called Stellar Impact. The ground crumbled beneath him, causing the zombies to stumble. In an instant, the scene shifted, and he found himself in front of a dojo. Inside the dojo, Lu Sheng approached the attendant and asked if there was an available assessment room and if he could rent a machine. The attendant smirked, curious about why he had returned. She asked if it was because of the upcoming exam, noting that one's health status typically doesn't increase in such a short time. Scratching his head, Lu Sheng laughed awkwardly and said he just wondered if his health had slightly improved. Realizing it was his second assessment this month, Lu Sheng reflected on how most people only assess their vitality twice a year. Even schools that are serious about grades conduct assessments monthly. The attendant told him that room 206 was available and wished him luck. Inside the assessment room, Lu Sheng reminded himself that if his abilities hadn't improved rapidly, he wouldn't be here so often. He first tested his health status, receiving a score of 15.60032, which far exceeded the standards for a rank 2 martial artist. It made sense to him. After all, the supreme martial arts techniques and advanced tonics he used were from 10,000 years in the future. He then prepared for the combat assessment, pulling up his sleeve and unleashing a powerful punch. The result was 31 or 37 combat power, more than twice the standard requirement. He realized that his combat index was affected by the techniques he used, meaning his ultimate combat power could be even higher. For a second test, Lu Sheng stood in a combat stance and used the Stellar Impact technique. His eyes glowed blue, a whirlwind gathered around his fist, and in an instant, the scene changed again. From a distance, the attendant saw him and asked if he was already done. Noticing his pleased expression, she added that he seemed quite happy. Lu Sheng confirmed this, said his goodbyes, and the attendant cheerfully wished him luck in the exam. As she closed her eyes, she thought about Lu Sheng. Despite his cool demeanor, she found him quite attractive when he smiled. Her daydream was interrupted by her little brother, a boy with red hair, who asked who she had been talking about. This boy, Nishuang's younger brother, carried a red gym bag slung over his shoulder. Nishuang, the daughter of the master of the Hongchuan Martial Arts Academy, asked the attendant if the guy who had just done an assessment was still around. Embarrassed and blushing, the attendant explained that she must have seen things wrong and that the guy was just a typical high school student who happened to be handsome. The red-haired boy scoffed, saying that being handsome didn't matter in their society. Only martial prowess did. He added that based on the man's clothing, he likely came from an ordinary family, so assessing many times wouldn't change anything. Nishuang, Understanding her brother's arrogance reminded him of the societal divide. While the poor focused on academics, martial arts were reserved for the rich. She knew her little brother had been taking tonics since childhood, making his vitality much higher than others even before he began formal cultivation. His access to better resources made the gap between him and his peers even larger, fueling his pride. Frustrated, Nishuang hit him on the head and told him not to compare himself to others, especially those from ordinary households. A lump formed on his head, and Nishuang reminded him that since he had access to superior resources, he had more reason to work harder and not be arrogant over his small achievements. Grabbing his sister's arm, he asked for a favor. He wanted to see the assessment results of the guy who had come earlier. Nishuang, surprised, asked why. The boy responded that the guy had looked a few years older than him, and he wanted to compare their progress to see if his hard work had paid off. Nishuang sighed, but agreed to grant her younger brother's request. She warned him not to be overconfident, reminding him that the man earlier seemed ordinary. The red-haired boy nodded eagerly, agreeing. The attendant pulled up the records and confirmed that only one person had come for an assessment today. As she looked at the results, Nishuang's eyes and mouth widened in shock, and sweat formed on her brow. Nishuang grabbed the device from the attendant, her expression serious. Her little brother collapsed to the ground in disbelief, wondering if the test machine was malfunctioning. The attendant quickly reassured them that the machine was in perfect condition. Once the results were confirmed, Nishuang became resolute and immediately instructed the attendant to gather all available staff to collect information on every student in the area. The attendant followed her orders without hesitation. Nishuang was determined to track down Lu Sheng. Meanwhile, outside the Martial Artists Association building, Lu Sheng closed the taxi door. The driver, delighted with their conversation, hinted at introducing his daughter the next time he saw Lu Sheng. Walking away, Lu Sheng, eyes closed and hands in his pockets, reflected on the driver's passion. He regretted mentioning that he was headed to the Martial Arts Association for the Rank 2 certification, as it had sparked a non-stop conversation. Entering the building, Lu Sheng bumped into a frustrated man who couldn't believe his own results. At home, his combat power was over 150, but the results here were significantly lower. The man, dressed in a green jacket, explained that the association's machines were custom-made by officials, and thus more accurate than those sold to the public. Hearing this, Lu Sheng grew excited, eager to finally get an accurate assessment of his true abilities. Approaching the front desk, Lu Sheng asked the receptionist where he should go for the martial artist certification. After filling out a form, he was directed to room 5203. As he waited in line, he overheard two men discussing a young woman they had seen. The man in green asked his companion if the pretty girl was also taking the martial arts certification. His companion, dressed in yellow, confirmed it and was amazed, noting that despite her young age, she had the confidence to take the test. Lu Sheng observed that most of the people around him were in their mid-20s, and it was rare to see someone younger taking the certification. A man with gray hair was taken aback when a massive man barged into the room without waiting in line, shocking everyone. The room buzzed with murmurs, and people began snapping photos of the giant figure. The young woman from earlier confronted the man, insisting that it was a first-come, first-served situation, and ordered him to wait in line. Before tensions could escalate, the examiner intervened, explaining that the giant man, Zhao Changfeng, had the right to go first because he was there for the Rank 3 certification. The room fell silent, jaws dropping in disbelief. The young woman's partner even spat out a mouthful of blood in shock. Despite the commotion, Lu Sheng remained unfazed. He knew that in the martial arts world, strength dictated privilege. The examiner then instructed Zhao Changfeng to step forward for his health status assessment. The young woman, still in disbelief, struggled to accept that the man might actually qualify for Rank 3. When his health status was revealed as 107, far exceeding the requirement, the room fell into stunned silence. Next came the combat power assessment. Zhao Changfeng unleashed a punch so powerful that it caused many applicants to lose their balance and fall. While the young woman held her ground, Lu Sheng remained completely unaffected. The examiner announced Zhao Changfeng's result, 10,831 in combat power. He congratulated the man, informing him that he had earned the rank 3 certification from the Bay City Martial Arts Association and would receive a monthly cultivation allowance of $30,000. Zhao Chang looked around and noticed that only 2 people, including the young woman and Lu Sheng, remained unaffected by the impact of his punch. The young woman couldn't comprehend how Lu Sheng had managed to stand firm. Without hesitation, Lu Sheng stepped forward, commenting, so this is the standard of a rank 3 martial artist? His remark puzzled the young woman, who wondered what he meant. The examiner, intrigued by Lu Sheng's calmness, allowed him to go next, reminding him to stay relaxed. As the health status result came up, the examiner and the onlookers were left speechless. 15.7. The crowd was in disbelief, unable to fathom that a student could possess such a high health status. They assumed that some powerful tonic must be coursing through his veins. Even Zhao Changfeng, from a distance, was astounded. Before the combat power test, the examiner kindly reminded Lu Sheng to take his time and that he could try as many times as necessary. Lu Sheng politely declined, stating, "1 is enough." As he prepared, multicolored energy swirled around him, and a blinding light radiated from his body, captivating the room.